Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Talking Real Estate with Champions Real Estate Team, your Berkshire Hathaway Home Service Ambassador Real Estate Company. My name is Mark Wehner, the second team leader here at Champions Real Estate Team. And then with me is Russ Williams at Williams Mortgage. So we jump on here every Wednesday, kind of give a rundown what's going on in the real estate market over the last 7 days, keep you informed so you guys can make an educated decision, whether buy a house, sell a house, invest in properties, all that kind of fun stuff. So we always like to start out with a quick tip. So I know last week we kind of introduced our website, which we were excited about in that regard. So let's check it out. So I'm kind of going to dive into a little bit more detail on our website. So literally just had one of my friends and clients as well message me this morning as I was driving into the office. Hey, who's your insurance agent for homeowners, car insurance, all that fun stuff? Well, I got a place for you on our website here. So as you look at here, so basically you click on our little waffle thingy here as you come down, and obviously you can use this on mobile as well. But our vendor list, so this connects you back to my referral net. .com, kind of basically our the referrals that I have on here. So scroll down, and this is a nice little handy tool. So I'm constantly adding to this for clients and things like that I've worked with in the past that have their own businesses. So if you have a business you want to be featured on here, give me a holler and we'll get you added here. So I know she was talking about insurance companies. Currently I use United Insurance Agencies at Cindy Davis. So she's great. She works with my personal property, my primary residence, and obviously my couple rental properties that I have. Speaking of that, so make sure you're checking your policies, because I just was talking to Russ here before we got on. One of my investment properties, just on a nice split entry home, Hearthstone home, basically went from $1,600 up to $3,500, basically a $2,000 increase. Literally, I got the email this morning. So my first call after I get off this video here with you guys is to reach out to Cindy and say, hey, what's the other options and where are we at? Because it's an investment property. I'm not even covering personal property or anything under that. That's the renter's policy for that renter that's covering that. But I'm like, that's an extra $160 a month. That's basically going to, have to be absorbed by, me, the investor, in that sense. And then, ultimately you're not gonna be able to increase that rent by $160 a month on your tenant. But that's just the things that we're dealing with across the board, so obviously, if you need any type of contractors, windows contractors, Dr. Kubik over at Omaha Primary Eye. So those type of things. So anybody that you need there. So maybe if you're new to town, you can jump on and check this out. But yeah, so that's kind of our quick tip. So jump on our website, championsrealestateteam.com, click on the little waffle icon there, and then jump down into the vendor list. This will kind of give you the rundown of just the different vendors that I've used in the past and clients have used and all that good stuff. So if you need it, it's there. And obviously if you reach out to me any other time that you need and help you out. So let's check out the sorry, let me get my stuff here situated. What's gone on in the real estate market over the last 7 days. So this pulls up for us. We had 566 new listings go live in the last 7 days. 411 new contracts get written. So those that went pending. We've kind of been seeing this, these numbers based for the last couple of weeks. So housing market has been pretty active. Interest rates have dropped a little bit. I know, I believe they had a meeting today. Correct me if I'm wrong, Russ, but I think that they're talking about that. So I'm sure you'll jump more into that. But then the sold homes, so the happy new homeowners, 456 in the last 7 days. So like I said, market's still moving. We're seeing a pretty steady increase, over my 16 years of being in the business. This time usually kind of slows down. You got people going on family vacations, you got all that kind of stuff. They kind of just put the pack burner on, enjoy the last month or so of summer before school starts. Like myself, we're going, taking the family to the Platte River State Park here this weekend. So all that kind of fun stuff. But, and then let's take a look at the 30,000 foot view of the other numbers, the other graph we go over every week. So 3,200 homes in the Omaha and Lincoln MLS, 1,967 in Douglas and Sarpy County. So we kind of narrow it down into that Omaha Metro side of it. And then existing homes, just under 1,000. I think we were 1,003 last week. So we dropped down just a little bit. 971 new construction, 2.2 months of inventory, and then 347. So, this graph, if you go back on our social media and you kind of scroll through and you see the previous graphs that we keep on there, this one doesn't change a whole lot. But you can actually see the houses moving in the other graph that every week, 566 coming on, 411 going off, back and forth through there. So, but yeah, that's kind of what we're seeing in the activity in the market here. So let's take a look at what Russ has from the mortgage industry side. So how are we doing on the mortgage side, Russ?
Doing pretty well, Mark. It's going to be a warm one today, so everybody be safe out there. This video is recorded just before the Fed does release their announcement here in a couple of hours. It's widely expected that they won't drop or change rates this meeting, but they do meet every 6 weeks. And it's at this moment, unless we have a surprise, it's a high likelihood that we'll see a drop in the short-term rates as we roll into that next meeting in September. It's important to note, and we've talked about this before, that the Fed directly controls short-term rates, things like credit cards, auto loans, student loans. Long-term rates are actually tied to the long-term bond market. And the bond market does listen to what the Fed is doing and saying and make determinations for what they want to do, bond purchasers. And so we're going to be paying really close attention to what the Federal Reserve says in their press conference immediately following their meeting today. And then in a couple of weeks, they'll release the minutes from this meeting. Now, the Fed has a dual mandate of trying to keep price stability, which means keep inflation and deflation in check, as well as keeping the unemployment rate low. And we've started to see some more cracking in the unemployment market and starting to see what could be a jobs market softening. And the Fed is probably going to comment on that this afternoon, as well as they likely will further acknowledge that inflation is remaining manageable at this point in time. So given that the jobs are starting to show signs of cracking, it's quite likely that the Fed won't drop this meeting, but they probably will at the next meeting, and the market will likely respond to what the Fed says this afternoon. Having said that, as we've talked about many times, Mark, for those of you that have not yet bought a home, if you do happen to wait for lower rates, it's quite likely you're going to be competing with more people who jump into the market because those rates have dropped and their buying power has improved. So that will start to put upward pressure on on home prices. I'm sorry. So I'd encourage you to get out there now, buy the home that you want. We could always fix the rate later on when we hit the bottom of the economic cycle and rates are at their lowest point. Same thing would go for those of you that are thinking you might want to sell your home and move up. I'd encourage you to get on the market now, because if home prices do rise by 2%, your $150,000 home that goes up by 2%, when you go to list it, is not going to gain enough compared to that $400,000 home that went up by 2%. You're actually losing ground by waiting to sell your house now and buy the new home that's more expensive. So having said that, though, Mark, you're right. Rates have shown some signs of improvement over the last couple of weeks, and we anticipate that will continue as we head through the remainder of the year. Obviously, the unknowns are geopolitical in nature. The world can be a crazy place, but get out there and buy a house. This is a great time.
Yep. And then, like I said, piggybacking off of our quick tip, make sure that your agent that you're working with is on top of what's going on in the insurance world, because we're seeing, on the 1,200 square foot house like my rental house, $1,600 is usually about, $1,600 to $2,000 is about, I probably put $2,000 on my estimates when I do an estimated cost sheet. And now that thing's up to $3,500. That's an extra $160, $150 a month that's going on your payment to make sure you qualify for that. So, if your agent's not paying attention to what's going on in the market and they're just kind of like plugging a number in there, all of a sudden you may get sticker shock when you're under contract for that house, and then you go to get homeowners insurance policy on it, and then they come back and give it to your lender and say, oh, well, it's $3,000 rather than, and your agent maybe put $2,000 in on that estimate, and you're not comfortable with that mortgage payment. So you need to make sure that those numbers that you're looking at, there's a lot of different variables in there that all, go into that, into that mortgage payment. And so taxes are a big thing, obviously. And then you got the insurance and those type of things. So, but yeah, those are all just things you really have to take a look at with our environment, with, all the storms that have hit us lately. Insurance companies are trying to cover their tails. They're paying out the nose right now with a lot of the tornado damage and hailstorms and all that good stuff. Inevitably they're going to have to find something to make it work. Whether they're raising deductibles to keep those premiums down, but then as a homeowner, you got to have an emergency fund enough to cover that deductible. So there's a lot of different variables out there that, that's what we're here as being, we're not necessarily a real estate agent, being a real estate advisor of, hey, here's all the pieces of the puzzle that you got to put together. And we're here to walk you through those steps. It's all hunky-dory to call an agent and say, hey, I see this beautiful house. Can you show it to me? And I want to buy it. Okay, well, what does it take to get to that point and go through that? Like, I'm happy to show you those things. And that's the value of working with an experienced real estate agent is, hey, are you aware of boom, 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 boom? Here's the steps in the process. And, we don't want to have any, limit the number of potential surprises that may show up, later down the road in that transaction, and it gets you caught up ahead. And that's why a lot of times I'm working with clients that I've met with 6 months ago, and they got their ducks in a row and we're ready to rock, and then it's, and that way you're educated, you're not rushing into something and going from that standpoint of it. But anyways, I like to keep this video short, but sometimes I get long-winded. But if you have any questions, happy to sit down, in person, jump on a Zoom, whatever's convenient for you, and just kind of give you a good rundown of what's going on in the real estate market and basically get a game plan together. I mean, we say that stuff all the time. My mental basic background's coming from a coaching standpoint of coaching hockey for 15 years. And now I'm coaching 6-year-old soccer, which is herding cats. So if I can handle those kids, basically makes a real estate transaction easy. So, but anyways, if you have questions, give Russ a holler at 290-8936 or give me a holler 672-7670. And let's rock and roll this weekend and stay cool. So take care, guys.